This lecture is part of an online course of Calculus 1, and I'm going to talk about power functions as one of the essential classes of functions. So what is a power function? A power function looks like this. F of x is equal to x to the power of some number a, where a is a constant, and a can be fractions, positive or negative numbers. As an example, for example, f of x is equal to x squared. It's a power function. Or f of x equals to x to the power of 1 over 5, which we show it by fifth root of x as well. Okay, so if a is some positive integer, so n as some positive integer, then f of x would be equal to x to the power of n, where n is some positive integer, so that's how we get a polynomial. If a is equal to a fraction like this, so f of x would be equal to x to the power of 1 over n. Let me have just a little space in here. X to the power of 1 over n, which we show it also by nth root of x. We call it a root function, a root. Oh, come on. A root function. And we can kind of call it like this, nth root of x. Okay. If a is equal to the power, the negative 1 actually, then f of x would be equals to x to the power of negative 1, which is 1 over x. This is a reciprocal function. Reciprocal function. Let me show you to the graph of it. If this is x-axis, this is y-axis, the graph of this function looks like this. This is y equals to 1 over x. Okay, let me give you some note. So, note number 1 is that by convention, second root of x, we just write it like that. We don't write the root over here. And in that case, x should be positive, greater than or equal to 0. And the second note is this one. If f of x is equal to x to the power of 1 over n, which is nth root of x, if n is even, then the domain and range of the function is the interval from 0 to positive infinity, basically all the non-negative integers. And the graph of it looks like this. X-axis, y-axis, it looks like this. So this is the graph of nth root of x when n is even. Okay, now if n is odd, then the domain and the range of this function is all real numbers. That's interesting. This is x-axis, This is y-axis, and the graph of this function looks like this. So this is y equals to nth root of x when n is an odd number. Okay, so this is something interesting that you need to watch. So if we have x to the power of fraction, then we have nth root. If the root is even, the graph looks like this. If the root is odd, the graph looks like this. Let me show you two different graphs. Okay, so this is the graph of y equals to fourth root of x. Okay, that's the graph. Now, just see the graph of y equals to eighth root of x. The graph looks like this. If I zoom in, you see the difference, right, between these two. Okay, it looks like this. Very good. Now look at the graph of y equals to cube root of x. As you see, the domain, all the input, which is all the numbers in the x-axis, is r, and the output, basically the range, is also r. And just see the difference between y equals to 15th root of x. Okay, this is y equals to 15 root of x, this one. And let me graph that one as well. You see the difference between these two, while it's gonna be too much, but if I erase these two, you see the difference between the even roots, and these are the odd roots. Okay, that's the difference between them. Okay, so now we see that. I just want to give you basically just a very small recall. Most of you probably remember it, but I just wanted to go over it. A recall is that if you consider the quadratic equation this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, then the solution of that is equal to what? The solution is basically the numbers that you can plug into the equation, and then you do some algebra and then get 0. Okay, that's the solution. I mean by this. And then it would be negative b plus minus square root of 4 square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, and if b squared minus 4ac is some positive number, then we get two solutions, because for example you get, for example, square root of 10 in here, and then you get negative b plus square root of 10 over 2a, or negative b minus square root of 10 over 2a. If this is something negative, then we have no real solution. And if we get 0, we just have one solution. Okay, that is just the quadratic formula that I wanted to just basically go over it. You can look at the textbook for more example. Let's go to algebraic functions on the next video.